Well, here's some tech news to talk about. Um, so, this guy wanted to make a t-shirt about the zeta function, which is, a famous function having to do with the density of prime numbers. But he described it as using the zeta function, and he discovered that the entire Greek alphabet is apparently trademarked by affinity consultants because they represent fraternities and sororities. So anybody that uses any Greek letter, they regard it as copyright infringement, which is, of course, kind of mad because there's like Delta Airlines and a lot of things named after that. And that's not what trademark law means. But, of course, that's too much bother for an online service to check. So they just block everything that might be a trademark infringement. And this is what happens a lot with copyright and stuff. They just block everything. And it's what's going to happen with abortion in Texas now. Now that everybody can just sue anybody that has anything to do with an abortion provider for $10,000 at any time, then they'll stop providing abortions because there's an unclear legal risk. And it's just too much bother for them to deal with all the legal consequences. So the 12th Tesla has rammed into an emergency vehicle. I saw one rammed into a police car a few days ago. It's happened again. And so now some government agency is now demanding answers from Tesla. Perhaps one possibility is that the bright blinking lights on police cars and other emergency vehicles confuse the Tesla system so it can't see them properly. That would seem kind of logical since they do navigate by LiDAR, which is light being used like radar. It might be that a bright blinking light, they can't figure out where it is. Anyway, it's definitely not a good thing that they'll plow right into emergency vehicles, and they really need to knock that off. And now they have to answer by a certain day some questions about what they're doing so the regulators can decide whether Teslas are safe. The most popular podcaster in the world is Joe Rogan. I can't understand it at all. I tried listening to one of these and it was like completely boring. Two guys babbling nonsense for an hour, never even saying anything. It wasn't even funny. I have no idea what people see in this guy, but he is apparently the greatest guy in the world. And he pushes a lot of vaccine misinformation along with a lot of other stupid things. And now he got COVID, and so he took ivermectin, which is, of course, strongly not recommended. Yeah, Teslas don't seem to do very good with stationary objects either. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so if anybody understands Joe Rogan, I would sort of like to know. He's apparently extremely popular with a lot of people, but I can't understand how anybody listens to it or what the point is. But he's apparently seen as a role model, so when he tells you to not take the vaccine and instead take ivermectin, people see that as a reason to do that. Listen to Joe Rogan once, and he was singing praises for an all-meat diet. Yeah, he just seems to be like a cartoon, like a Saturday Night Live sketch of like the dumbest guy saying the stupidest things. But he's incredibly popular. He's the number one podcast in the world, I think. People love it. It goes on for like 3 hours of him just talking nonsense. Of course, a lot of people voted for Trump too, and I have no idea what they were thinking. Apparently, he represents what they like to hear. MMA has something to do with wrestling, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Elon Musk went on there to smoke weed. Apparently, this is the way you connect to a large portion of America, which I certainly don't know. I would never win an election. I'm sure that 90% of everybody sees me as some kind of untrustworthy ivory tower egghead that wouldn't understand their problems, which is probably true because I wouldn't understand what they're doing watching TV or watching Joe Rogan, and that's what most of them do. I saw this in the analysis of politics. They said the average American voter never reads any books or articles at all. They don't read any news at all, and they watch 5 hours of television a day. And those are the people you have to reach. The new euphemism for this is low information voters. But that's why the ex-Republican strategists that are now trying to help Democrats win because they hate what the Republican Party has been keep saying, you people don't know how to appeal to common people. You have to talk a different language and say things differently if you want to reach those low information voters, which Republicans depend on. And they're right. You have to, people like college professors can never do it. I mean, you have to speak a very different language. You have to somehow relate to these people. And clearly people like Joe Rogan and Trump really do. The strange way they talk, which repels me, appeals to the low information voters, which is a lot of them. Anyway, So, FTC, I did not know they could do this. There's stalkerware, which have been around for a while, which you put on a phone so you can track what's going on the phone and where it is, and they sell it advertising as if parents are going to use it to monitor their children, or employers are going to use it to monitor what's happening on their work phone. But what it's really used by is by jealous husbands to monitor their wife, or wife on their husband to see who they're cheating with and things like that. And the one company went over the line. And apparently, they would secretly spy on people and then secretly sell the data to other people. So they would sell real-time access to the surveillance and harvest it with a hidden device hack. And so they have been apparently driven out of business by the FTC. Although I don't know to what extent they can really do this. I know when I worked under contract with the FTC, they would just shut down a company, make them pay a fine, and then the guys would start another scam, go back on late night TV and do it again and again and again. But anyway, they have barred these people to some extent from doing this. And that would be sort of nice if they can do something about the worst offenders of these stalker apps. So this is very interesting. This guy, Fabian Wozar, runs a company, or he's involved with a company that creates things that will decrypt your ransomware for you for free. And he found about a company that had been infected that was going to get hit with ransomware, and he couldn't get anybody at the company to pay any attention to him. So he was yesterday or the day before on Twitter saying, "Can anybody help me reach these people? They won't listen to me and stuff." And now apparently he managed to reach them and managed to communicate with somebody intelligent there, so they're going to do something, which is good because it sounded like they were just unsavable. And he explains how he did this, which is very interesting. He set up a Jabber account to talk to the criminals, so criminals could reach out anonymously and tell him about attacks in progress. And what he discovered is that the threat actors have InfoSec levels of drama. They are fighting among themselves, bickering over the money, blaming each other for stuff, and anxious to betray one another. So he found he received lots of intel from various criminals ratting out the other criminals, which, by the way, is what Brian Krebs says too. He said a lot of what he gets is one criminal ratting out another that they see as a competitor or a traitor. And so he got lots of information about crimes in progress this way. So details about backdoors in progress, stolen passwords, and things like that. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting company that he's in. And so this is the Bitcoin abuse database. And the reason I put this up here is because one of my ex-students got this on his CCSF email, and maybe you're going to get it too. This is a fairly common one. And they're going to tell you to send money to this address, or be ones like this. And these are ones that say, "I have compromised your machine. I have remote control of it. I can see that you've been watching porn. I'm going to tell everybody unless you send me money to shut me up." And there's a lot of these different ones here. A lot of the phrases in his spam email were straight from this. So anyway, I heard there's something about the two screens, you making on the left screen and on the right screen the video you were watching, that sort of thing. There's quite a lot of these. So anyway, be aware of that. Apparently that's going around and maybe hitting other city college emails. So here's a classic InfoSec scandal. These guys, this is some kind of home security system, and it has a unprotected API connected to the internet, so anybody can just connect and turn it off. This is extremely common with the Internet of Things, as we hear over and over. And as also is extremely common, Rapid7 found the vulnerability. They told the company, and the company won't even talk to them at all or fix it, or say when they're going to fix it, or even like yell and complain. So after 90 days, they just tell the whole world. And now that they've told the whole world, the owner is still opening emails but not responding to them. And if they're like most companies, they'll come out pretty soon to say you're all lying. And anyway, but apparently, if you have these things, they're not safe. And there are some recommended workarounds, but this is generally the case of Internet of Things devices. They tend to be very poorly designed by people that don't think about security. And the companies don't tend to have any security staff that can understand or vulnerability report or do anything about it. It's a thing to be aware of. That's why I've seen people that buy special home gateways to protect all their home networks. Unencrypted radio signals is the other one. Yeah. and an unauthenticated API, so anybody can send the turn-off signal from the internet. They test them for bare functionality, but not for security. Anyway, that gets us up to the official time. Let me